to fathers also doubling up as moms for various reasons, and women doubling up as fathers for also obvious and various reasons. Happy Father's Day. And tonight I'm privileged to have, I think, dads, if I'm not wrong. Happy Father's Day to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe I can give you a minute, each of you, to tell us who you are celebrating, including yourself.
Okay,
yes,
I'll say that I'm celebrating my dad, Reverend Zachary Oduri, whoever he is. Happy Father's Day, and we appreciate the effort that you have put together to bring us up.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm celebrating my late dad, Tobias Omondi, but I'm also celebrating my third born, Tobias Asher, named after him, and my children, because I'm a father.
And grandfather?
And not yet.
Oh, all right. So next to me is actually Gamaliel Omondi, who is Head Division of Occupational Health, Minister of Health, and at the far end is Thomas Lindy, Coordinator, KETCA. And Father's Day is coming at a time, Tom, when the country, this week, the talk is about teenage pregnancies. Is it the role of the father, the mother? Who are we blaming here?
I would say that we'll blame the society because the society has actually let this group of children down. We've not had enough information getting through to them. We've not had enough guidance to their families, and the fathers should also step up and play their role so that we can protect our generation.
All right.
Yeah.
What to say?
Yeah, I will support what Thomas said.
Society. But who is the society?
The society, but the society comprises of the fathers, the mothers, and even the children themselves. So we owe a duty of care and responsibility, all of us, at every level. Even though the fathers are sometimes being blamed for not doing their work well, but I think they do a lot. The fathers do a lot. It's only that some of it is not recognized.
Really?
Yeah. And we'll say that the children themselves also need to try and obey what the parents tell them. Because our biggest role is to nurture the family, to offer protection, and to offer security, and also to feed them and clothe them apart from education. So that is already a basket full of fathers. And also we are assisted by the mothers that we have in our households.
All right. Yes. Okay, that's subject to discussion. If the mothers were here, they would tell us whether they are playing a lot of, or they have a lot to do in regard to raising kids, or it's the fathers. But let's get back to our topic of discussion, which is on drug abuse amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Omondi, do you have the latest statistics? How big of a problem is this currently?
Yeah, I can say the problem is gradually increasing as we go by. Going by the data that was given by the CS today, looking back in the month of March when the first case was reported, we have experienced exponential growth in cases, which means the problem is growing bigger and bigger day by day. So it is not a matter that can be downplayed. We are seeing increases in cases amidst measures that have been taken by the government. We see very stringent measures that the public has always complained about, but to a given extent, the measures have also played a key role in slowing down the spread. But still, we are in for some work. Yes.
Drug abuse right now, lockdown restrictions, or the restrictions that we have, are they in any way contributing to the increased cases of drug abuse, especially among the young people?
I may not have accurate data on drug abuse in relation to the lockdown that we have currently, but what I know is that when people are idle, then they change to things that they can easily do. And so those who are likely to play on drugs can still continue doing drugs. And that is where now the lockdown can be blamed when it comes to COVID-19 spread. Yeah.
All right. Tom, maybe you can tell us from research, KETCA, what are you finding out? Is the drug and substance abuse slowing down, or are we seeing an increase?
I will say not authoritatively,
Yeah.
but from what we see around, there is increase in use of drugs and tobacco. You'll find that most of the youths are idle right now, having nothing to do. And in such a cases, people get stressed up. If you have nothing to do, you'll maybe look out for your friends. And having the COVID-19 measures that we have around, it also brings another burden because you have nowhere to go. You may want to mingle or maybe to reach out to friends, but it becomes difficult whereby people have been locked up. Some basically locked up in their homes so that they can protect themselves. And you'll find that the stress levels will go up. And in cases like that, people who use tobacco will end up maybe consuming more tobacco or smoking more. Those who are who are into drinking, they'll drink more, maybe to do away with the stress. And you see, at such a time like this, we have found that there is a strain on the family, there is a strain on income, people are losing jobs. So the crisis has actually escalated to levels that we never thought it would reach. And you'll find that in such cases, there is this danger that youth will indulge in maybe chewing miraa and such, so that just to pass time, and there's nothing else to do maybe. And you see, it becomes difficult for the society. Yeah.
And as we speak, Thomas, which kinds of drugs that are currently being abused most frequently, if you could let us know?
In Kenya, there is the use of alcohol is so high, and followed by a research from NACADA shows that there is a use of alcohol, which is very prevalent, and also there is also increase in tobacco use, and tobacco actually goes with the consumption of maybe miraa and such drugs. And also there is also the use of cannabis, which is actually also a major challenge in our country, bearing in mind of what is happening globally. So all these are some of the drugs that are mostly consumed in our society. And we need to step up and come out and do something about that. Where if we don't do anything, maybe we'll lose this generation to drugs, yeah.
Okay, and before I get to you, Omondi, there are a few questions that Ketka was asking in regard to drugs and COVID-19. Let us understand what exactly the Minister of Health was doing, and you are not really comfortable about it.
Yeah,
inclusion of some drugs, you said?
Yeah, we are really not comfortable with what has happened during this pandemic. And this one, we blame it squarely on the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, whereby they listed tobacco and alcohol as essential products at this time. And basically, this one came at the onset of the pandemic. And you see that's a wrong message that you are sending to the people. People will tend to think that if this product has been listed as essential, then what are we to do? We have to consume it. Whereas, on the other hand, other countries like South Africa, we saw them banning some of these products because they knew that these are products that are consumed in a social setting. And it's also happening in Kenya, where people who have been found to be violating some of these laws, they have been found either to be drinking in groups and also maybe using some other drugs. So this was a very wrong move, and we are actually, this was part of the campaign that we are running right now. We are calling upon the government to list these products as essential products so that people can get the right message. We can right the wrongs that you have done. As the CS said today, some of the things that were done at the onset, they didn't know how to handle them. But it's a high time that we know how well to handle them. And the history will judge us that at this time, when there was a pandemic, some people came up and listed some of the products that could actually help in aggravating the spread of coronavirus. For example, smoking. Smoking involves maybe like what is happening in Kenya. We have the sale of single sticks. So you go to a shop, the shopkeeper will tap the pack and give you the 2 cigarettes that you want. He has already handled the product himself, and they actually handle it at the end, whereby you are supposed to put in your mouth. So you see, this one, these are some of the wrong messages that we think that the government should come up clearly and delist some of these products so that we can have a good direction going forward.
Omondi.
Because the pandemic is here with us.
Okay.
The pandemic, we are actually confessing that the pandemic will be here for a long time. So let's right the wrongs that you've done.
Omondi, the minister is being put on the spot.
Yeah,
Yes, what were some of the reasons that led the Minister of Health and Industrialization to list alcohol? I know there's sanitizers and everything, to list them as essentials.
Thank you, Purity. I think on the panel we have a civil society and on the other side is the government.
Official, yeah.
And how the government works, maybe bilaterally, the government to government organization. And I can say here comfortably that tobacco products, the way we know, was even delisted as cash crop in the Agricultural Act. And so it is not a cash crop anymore that should be grown by farmers. Following that, Lindy knows that we also banned the shisha. And that shisha could be a very, very critical mode of communication or transmission for COVID-19.
Sure.
And it has never been listed again. It is one of the biggest products that could have given us a big challenge because of the manner in which it is consumed. But Lindy, it has not been listed anywhere. Even the cigarettes you have given as an example has not been listed as an essential commodity. Alcohol, it depends on, because even what was used as sanitizers are alcohol-based items. So it only depends on which corner Lindy is coming from to explain whether it is alcohol consumed or alcohol used to manufacture sanitizers. So that would be a clarification that could come on board. But what I know is that all what Kenya Revenue Authority seized in the name of alcohol was all diverted to manufacture of hand sanitizers. And they were not meant to produce the normal beers that people consume.
And because you're talking about shisha that could have given the ministry a problem in controlling spread of COVID-19, what's the link between smoking and COVID-19?
Yeah, Purity, when you look at smoking cigarettes or any form of item that is smoked, like the pipe, like the shisha, like the cigars, all what goes into the human body goes to the lungs. So the biggest organ here we are talking about is the lungs. Then when you look at COVID-19, the predilection site for the virus is the lungs. So then when it finds that smoke that comes from cigarette in itself has about 4,000 chemicals, which are carcinogenic and harmful to human beings. So a smoker who is using frequently cigarettes and is exposed every other day has chances or high risk of contracting COVID-19. And even when they contract COVID-19, they still have high chances of progressing to severe complications and even death. Yeah.
And we can talk about the complications?
Yes, of course. So first I would address myself to smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, it affects the lungs. So that is where the lung cancer comes from. Arising from the chemicals that I mentioned, about 4,000 chemicals in the cigarette itself. Then those chemicals get into our body and they are carcinogenic, so there will be lung cancer. But again, when they go into the lungs, they move through with the blood to the heart, and that is where we have heart problems. Then it all begins from the eyes. When you are smoking, the way Lind was explaining, you hold a cigarette, but the smoke goes up. Then it affects your eyes and even the hair. So then it affects every other part of the body. I think we carried the smoker's body here, and at an opportune time we can show the general public viewing how smoke destroys human body.
You can take a minute for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so this is actually the body of a smoker, somebody who has smoked for quite a long time. And there are series of infections ranging from the head going down to the chest, the abdominal region, and even up to the legs. We see amputation of the legs that has been done arising from gangrenes and diseases like diabetes that can cause the amputations to take place. But our major concern today is around this area of the lungs, because that is where the smoking meets COVID-19.
All right.
Yes, it's at the level of the lungs.
So how bad is it when, for example, I know it's a respiratory issue, but now when you are a smoker, does it mean you are at a greater risk of getting or being affected by by COVID-19 as a disease once infected?
Thank you, Purity. If you are a smoker, and we know that smoking reduces the lung capacity, then it increases the chances of infectious respiratory diseases, and then also can increase the severity of respiratory diseases. So once you smoke for a while and the lungs is already destroyed, then when COVID-19 comes in, because it goes to the lung alveoli, then it will find when the immunity is already weakened. And so the body has no power to now prevent or to protect a smoker from COVID-19.
All right.
And that is how now COVID-19 will put down smokers very fast as opposed to non-smokers.
All right. And Lindy, before we talk about the implementations on the ban, especially on the products that have been banned by the government, let's talk about some of the products that you feel as KETCA are also harmful, the substances that are harmful but are yet to be banned in the country. They're still being used, and probably it's also another call to list them in the ban.
As I begin this, I'll just say that we also want to, in as much as we are the civil society organization, we have to put a watch on the government. We are the watchdog, and some of this, we have seen progress in tobacco control and other drugs. The government is doing to some extent progressive work. And the ban on cigarette, we saw it on shisha, we saw it as an avenue whereby it could have led to the ban on other tobacco substances. But right now we are seeing an influx in emerging tobacco products, other products, for example, e-cigarettes, which are not regulated at all by the government. We have an influx in the sale of vapes and the snus and nicotine pouches. These products are not regulated in as much as we would like them to be regulated. They are all classified as tobacco products, so they fall under the Tobacco Control Act. But there's been a weakness whereby, for example, the nicotine pouches, they don't even have the graphic health warnings that are required for any tobacco product. And the e-cigarettes, you can easily order them online and find them maybe being promoted by some of our very well-known celebrities. So these are some of the emerging products that we actually would like the government to also step up. And the same way they did with shisha, come up and maybe have a ban on some of these products that are emerging and are unregulated. So this is a progressive work that we feel that we should move along with the government and ensure that they are banned. It's unfortunate that some of these products, even members of the public, they don't know about them. Even when we were banning shisha, some of the members of the public did not know what is shisha until they came to a point that we had to demonstrate some of these things so that people can know. So these are some of the products that we think that it's a high time that the government to step up its effort and in consultation with maybe civil society organization and so on, because we can provide the data that they need and actually help the government in maybe regulating and banning some of these products. Yes.
All right. Thomas and Gamaliel, I'm being told time is not on our side.
Oh.
Yeah, really, it's not on our side. Maybe we can wind up by letting some of the recommendations to smokers out here and what the government is doing also to control what Lindy is saying.
Okay, as a government, and as I said earlier, the government works through a process. And the way we ban the shisha is the same way we will ban all these other substances that are not required. But what we need is research backing the banning, because we cannot wake up in the morning and ban. We must have research. And we rely on civil society to provide us with a lot of information, even though we are also doing our own research through KEMRI. What I would want to leave the viewers with are some of the precautions of smoking versus COVID-19. And I would want to advise those who are smoking right now that this is the right time to quit smoking because of COVID-19. That is one. Number two is that people who are sharing the smokeless cigarettes, that is what he said, the nicotine delivery devices, and also the shisha, that is pipe and used for water, that there should be no sharing of those items. Yes, people should stop sharing those items. Then purchase of single stick cigarette is actually banned by law. And I would call upon our enforcement officers, the public health officers, the police officers outside there, to try and help the government to enforce the ban, because that is outrightly banned by Tobacco Control Act, Cap 245A. Then I would also advise those who are chewing cigarettes, because when you chew cigarettes, then you produce a lot of saliva that you need to spit. So we advise them not to spit anyhow in the public, because that is a way that COVID can easily spread when they spit on surfaces.
All right, and we have to wind up, Lindy. I know you're shocked, but you have to. We'll continue the conversation some other time.
Oh, yeah.
I promise. Thank you so much for your time, and that's how we wrap it up here at Family Matters. My name is Purity Museo. Lucy Mora has been our sign language interpreter. Do have yourself a lovely night, and God bless.